the plan of the airport at that time. But then the airport like this upgrade the airport and they build new terminal, very high, tall and sophisticated terminal. But unfortunately, normally the terminal will block the view of the tower. So we in many like planning planning meeting for the airport, we have like we discussed that like how we can overcome the view blockage. And the funny thing is that for many cases we decided to demolish the tower. Well, actually, the tower we just built it like 5 or 10 years ago, and we already have the plan to demolish and to build a new tower because we have new terminal. Yeah, some suggest that why don't you just like install some camera and well, of course we think about it, and maybe because it has some previous experience with the Noida International Airport. But actually now we come to the question, so that who approves that procedure, who approves that camera, and who approves that we can operate like that? Well, we no one know why, no one know how. It's just happening.
That's a beautiful project. No, really. That. First of all, as we spoke, we are at your hand. The
Yeah.
score we will come, right? And anyway, I have to accept the challenge of Tuan to play golf with him, even though he plays much better than me. Handicap 18, so I'm far away. But but this is a beautiful project. Yeah, this is a beautiful project.
Yeah.
And again, the GAMP is high level. Yeah, forgive me for referring too
Yeah.
often to it. But I'm doing so because when you listen to Fight, or you listen to Jorge when we were talking about TME Greece or Buenos Aires, we again and again go through this process. So the process is really good, right? And it starts with scope and context. And then you build a collapse, right? And this is what is desperately needed to do first for this airport. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have the safety documentation from the beginning, yeah, right? And all the requirements coming from that. And this is the package with which you go to your competent authority. So this is after having involved the airport authority, call it the military because there are cameras or whatever, I don't know, yeah?
Yeah.
And the airlines, yeah? We did some safety assessments also. This is what we believe is the right thing. I would, I'm, you know, I'm confident enough to tell you, if you start with, let's put a camera here and let's put a camera there, just forget about it. I think you really need a helicopter view and take a holistic approach so that you build a solid system, right? So would you agree? It's not just about putting a camera here and putting a camera there. Yeah.
Maybe now is the right time because you said, okay, this has been in place and
Yeah,
nobody knows now
perfect.
who actually approved it.
Perfect time.
Maybe it would be a good time to reconsider and say, okay, where do we place it in the CVP, in the conventional controller work position? Do we have the exact view? Is it redundant? Do we have power and network and so on? Is all that part okay? Then we can convince the regulator and say, okay, we have done a safety assessment. It fits in the human atmosphere here for the ATCO. It helps him. It's improving safety, what have you, and might be a good point.
Yeah, but again, revisit your concept of operations, right?
Yeah.
As you have defined it, and on that you have built all the documentation and directives and whatever it is, right, for your ADCOs, and then understand which camera at what place in order to support what is the right way to proceed.
And then maybe it's not the old solution with one camera.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to provide a 180 small panorama for this one runway
Yeah.
to have a consistent view.
Yeah.
Maybe that is more acceptable than from the
Yeah.
regulators.
And Anna will show up and will tell us, well, and by the way, one of our major issues in terms of occurrences
Yeah.
could be mitigated dramatically, yeah, by introducing not only a camera here, a camera there, but yeah.
Interesting thing is that it's all happened in one airport. Well, actually, Nova International
Hanoi,
Airport. Yeah,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Hanoi.
Yeah, yeah.
The runway incursion that Anna has to deal with last 2 weeks also happened in Hanoi.
Yeah. So go back convince your management or Torm. I'm not sure whether he is the one who is allowed to do that. And let's say fight me myself in order to massage your CEO and whatever. We will come and support you at best. Yeah.
Next week or
Week after next.
Yeah, after the next talk maybe. Right?
yeah.
No, I'm not kidding. I'm not
Okay.
kidding. And
Yeah.
it does not mean that you commit yourself to DFS Aviation Services in order to buy everything. It's just for the very first, maybe survey or support of a feasibility study or something like this, right?
Yeah, and what oftentimes also is helpful to see or to present to the regulator some examples and other projects. So if you
Then
present
invite
different
them to you.
applications and we can justify our safety case, it would be much easier than for you to go to the regulator and say, well, based on the studies or the survey they have done, it's similar and it fits your purpose of the operation concept. There's always a way. It's just a way of convincing, communicating. We have never seen a regulator, and we have invited, for example, a regulator from Australia to come here and sit together with the German regulator.
Mm.
They had some talks, and they were saying, okay, what is the regulation on remote towers, and how can we apply that? And so this is helpful, yeah. Anyway,
Interesting.
Because what we figured out is that even our competent authority ran out of expertise. They had no knowledge because it was so new. Yeah, there was no expertise, and we learned from each other.
Okay.
Yeah, this was really good. And then another supervisory authority or competent authority could learn from another one because they trust amongst themselves that they trust. There's more trust. Okay, so yeah, we can provide all the information and share all the experiences, right? Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
So it is easy for you if VATM send an invitation to you and invite you to.
Yeah, then we will
really
Directly
introduce.
or via DFS.
Yeah.
So we will form a little team, very small, yeah, just to address the whom to address, and then we will come over and help.
And it's also that in terms of the regulatory approval or safety plan, yeah, normally the ANSP is still in charge of it, yeah, because they are the responsible authority. You have to do the work and you have to understand your case. What we can do is give you some examples, look into our hazard library and give you some examples of what could go wrong, what happens, what we considered as to be critical or risky, why a camera can fall off the mast or something. Yeah, you will come up with your own hazards, and we can support you in that hazard library, for example, or in the approach, in the methodology, how we did it. Yeah, functional hazard analysis, safety assessment, and so on. And then you can use your own maybe structured approach to that. Have a look into our as a blueprint and be more confident. That's everything. Yeah, be more confident in what you bring to the regulator because okay, someone else had the similar approach. They've looked over this, they reviewed it. We can be sure this works sometimes, yeah, because it's a risky path. Also, for going to a remote tower project, yeah, any remote tower project is at first it's a lot of risks. Yeah, you just have to mitigate the risk by having a good transition plan, good time plan, good budgetary decisions, narrow it down, and then it makes it more handleable and manageable. Maybe before we come to the questions, just some slides on some future outlooks, and I have also a slide for the safety that you've asked to explain that in a little bit more detail. So first, nothing moves here yet, no. Some trends that we see in the remote and digital tower world, yeah. So some of them we've already talked about. The first one is definitely the multi-remote application, yeah. Although currently we have not seen this, many ANSPs are going in that direction. For example, Finland has put out a new tender for airports, and they clearly said we want to go with multi-remote in terms of simultaneous controlling more than one airport, yeah. Then we've talked a lot about AI and object recognition. As you can imagine, the AI world and the software application is amazing. Also, what comes to voice recognition, even DFS had a lot of project on that. How can you imagine you're sitting on a completely digital controller working position? So why not increase this potential and using different AI applications for recognition of
Mhm.
safety errors, recognition of different readbacks, and what have you. Yeah. Even if the ATCO is in talks and he talks about a certain situation, the PTZ can listen to that and maybe go to their target and so on. And this brings us to optimization or automatization, something that's really also interesting, how you connect to the cameras. For the Munich case, the ATCOs are not able to control cameras. They have no time for that. So basically the system has to be automated in a way to present the information when it's needed. So if in case you have a runway incursion, bam, you get your picture in picture on the monitor and it's immediately and automatically shows you the incident. Yeah, something like that. Compact RTC is also a thing that we see because we have overscaled now the investment on some technology parts. Yeah, it's too costly sometimes. So for the rural airports or remote regions, they cannot afford either the whole technology setup or they don't have the network. So we have also been in contact with some suppliers how to reduce the network bandwidth. Can we use satellite networks like Starlink for provision of visual camera technology? So these are some of the points that are also addressed by that. And then augmented reality is also a question. How do you present the information? Do you really want to have the monitor screens, or do you maybe have Google lenses and whenever you have an issue, you just see the little image here? Or you can do other things while you do this, because for the small rural airports, for example, the ATCO can also work on opening gates or walking around the tarmac and do different things. Yeah? And this, I think Jan put it here at the ATCO home office. It's for the science fiction.
Choose your right thing.
I don't want to see the safety assessment for that because at least in my home, I don't have the redundant power supply, and I have only one provider. Yeah, and we'll see more and more applications on that. I think this is clear, the multi-remote automatization. Also, maybe this is also interesting. We have a lot of functions, yeah, and a lot of things that can be done automatically. But some of the articles in talks, they always said, well, we don't want to over-automate here everything. Yeah, I'm in charge. I'm in control. I want to steer my camera where I want to look at. So you have to be careful in all the applications of new and fancy AI software. It's always a balance, and you need to discuss this with the articles. Obviously, they don't want to get replaced by any camera. Yeah, exactly. But you can support this here with safety net alarms, with detection of objects. You have radar feed. You can combine it. Maybe a boundary of the CTR. So once the VFR aircraft crosses your CTR, this sensor or this event is triggering a PTZ camera to focus on the target. So these are different applications for that. Yeah, and these are some of these augmented reality features. Some are even a little old, but yeah, this is something that the ATCOs will never accept. Yeah, it's just too heavy, too old school. It's science fiction. But you need, if you present this in a more intrusive way or in a more
Retina.
yeah,
in
a different
I
way,
heard
it
about that
makes
project.
sense. Yeah.
About the project Retina.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this brings me to an end here. We can go to the question and answers, but I want to come to one slide here in the backup because Anna, you asked about this regarding safety assessment methodology. I don't want to bore you here, but basically this is the principle that we have, let's say, methodologically approached this topic. So we have decided to follow this typical step that we do in many ATM changes. Yeah, this is not new. It's basically a standard approach. But really, you have to ask yourself, what is the change here? What is the preparatory phase here? A systematic description of the change. We had a lot of documentation on that. What is really introduced? What is the system architecture? Where is what stored? Where's the data flow? And everything is documented nicely and well. Then you go to the functional hazard analysis and you ask yourself what can go wrong. And we sit together with technicians as well as the ATCOs. And so from an operational standpoint, we said, okay, what can go wrong? You see, I don't know, an animal running on the runway. Can you see that with your camera? Yes, you can, because, and then you go into each and every part. And this is a huge bow tie diagram at the end. Yeah, you match all your different sources of errors. You match your sources of reasons, and you come up with risk and probability of
Mhm.
anything here. Yeah, this is done in the real sense of this safety assessment.
Whether you use the bow tie method or a Bayesian or whatever methodology,
Mhm.
it doesn't matter. It must be a probability model, right? The only thing I want to refer to, Duan, um, you read safety, safety, safety. This is a hazard analysis, right? But there was always, and one of my department was responsible for doing this for Leipzig, for example. There's always a security plugin, right? So it's safety, yes, yes, yes. What are kind of requirements? Security is a little bit different because normally you have a catalog, yeah, of controls against you measure the technology you bring in, yeah, and all the requirements. So do you meet this requirement? Do you meet this control? Put this control into place and la la la. And as long as you can put all the check marks, you get a yes from security. So information security, with all regard to every aspect, is included here, right? Okay.
Cyber security.
Yes.
Yeah, we call it information security, and cyber or IT is part of information security, right? So there are many aspects you have to take into it. But it's yeah,
It's only the safety assessment.
it's yeah, and it's again
Is a-
unlawful interference, you could say, right? Extremely important.
Exactly. And once you have the answer to the question of what can go wrong, then you need to find answers to what measures to take against those situations. So, for example, we mentioned what happens if the camera is out and you don't see the one camera picture. What happens? What can you do? Then you figure out either operationally or technically a work around, or you find a solution that is really defined and really nice. So, for example, one camera goes out, you have your freely moving PTZ camera on top, right? You can easily, with a touch of a button, switch to that position so it replaces the fixed panorama camera by the moving PTZ camera. So one workaround, one measure, and you can make a tick in your risk assessment and say, okay, this is covered, this is reasonably acceptable from a safety standpoint, and you have your requirements. And this can be also done for operationally things. So, for example, is the ATCO able to perceive weather phenomena in a digital way, in the same way as he would in the conventional tower? Maybe in a digital camera, it's lighter. He cannot see this is a thunderstorm. So you need maybe some training for that, and the measure could be training on different weather phenomena. Provide that to the ATCO in a digital format, and he will know. Okay, next time I see this kind of weird cloud, I know this is in reality a thunderstorm. Something. So can be technically, can be training, can be other topics as well. And at the end, you are left with some risks that are still there, and you have to classify them and just make that as an argument to the regulator and say, okay, this is what we have. We accept the residual risks, and we have at least protected us against the biggest ones or the one that are not acceptable. Yeah? Because you will never be able to extinct everything.
Mhm.
That's okay. I mean,
So, which is interesting when you do information security, it's just yes, yes or no, right? Here,
yeah, true. Yeah,
it is. It's like that. Yeah.
yeah.
Control in place, yes or no? Yeah. But here,
We can live with 70% or 80% safety, maybe. Yeah.
yeah, but not. But in cybersecurity, it's different.
Yeah.
And here, I would be just interested in your, some call it risk appetite. So, or let's say this risk tolerance. So, what is it? Can you share what the expectation of your management is? What is so? What kind of risks are you willing to take to accept? So I think
All
do
right.
yeah.
All right. Uh, also that we all like really know about how safety work, right? And one very common phase in aviation is that if you seek 100% safety, the only way is like to ground on the
Yeah.
airplane, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, even though our our leaders are still like they want absolute safety, so they are reluctant to the risk.
Okay.
Yeah, they are
Um,
not risk taker for sure.
No risk taker. Okay. Do you when you set safety do you set safety targets for VATM? Do you have safety targets?
Yeah, we do.
You have, do you have
Mục tiêu.
acceptable level of safety. Yes,
yeah,
we have.
quantitative or qualitative? So do you have numbers like in
99%.
not more than let's say 200 runway incursions category B with 200 more.
Just follow.
Again?
We have SPI.
Yeah. Can you share an SPI you have? This one?
Let me find.
Liên quan đến doanh nghiệp AB ấy.
Some ANSPs will have something like do not exceed 30 separation minimum infringements category B per 100,000 movements or something like this, yeah, or flight hours or so, yeah. So you do have something like this in place?
Yeah, we do.
Okay. So there is a risk acceptance, right? They do accept the risk. If they come up with such an SPI
Yeah.
or SPPI, they do accept risks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, they would say zero. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is interesting to understand, and from that you can derive requirements. Yeah. That's good.
Của mình cũng tính mãi mới ra được nhưng mà em thì không có đây because the new laptop so I don't have.
Yeah.
No, it's no problem. I was just I don't need an exact number now. Not a problem.
Example.
Yeah, just an example. So if you
We do have an indicator like how
đâu
many
nhỉ?
percent for
Không
each
thấy nhỉ?
field. For example, the incident class
yeah.
how many percent
Okay.
per 1,000 flights.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And then you have a kind of
A list.
a limit. So do
Yeah.
not exceed, yeah? Should not be more than.
Then
Should be lower than.
Yeah.
Ah, cool. Very good. What's up?
Wow.
What do you know?
I will translate for you. So the first objective is to provide. Okay, probably.
Google Translate. Google Translate.
100%. Oh, wow. I cannot read Vietnamese language, but I see 100%. Okay.
So
this is, yeah.
Yeah, it means that to provide HV services and the safe HV services and the safe coordination to 100% fly in the
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, this is good.
Yeah.
And what does the 20% mean?
So the number
the incident
of the incident in the technical aspect reduced 20% comparing to previous year.
Ah, okay. So
Yeah.
outages, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So ATM specific occurrences, we would say. So
Yeah.
occurrences in the technical.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And we have to maintain our safety level below the acceptable level of safety. That was issued by
So
the-
get better.
Yeah.
every-
We're better,
that's
get better.
good. Yeah. Thank
Yep.
you for sharing. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah. Okay. So this?
Ja.
Okay.
Wir können
Kommen wir zu den Fragen?
genau.
Okay. So fine. Thank you very much. This was impressive.
You're welcome.
Really good. And even the demonstrator, I think, allowed a first insight. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I just talked with Osman.
Yeah.
Next time, if you have a specific project idea, yeah, we schedule a visit to our real RTC center. Okay, you see the real application in here.
Yeah. Because we were thinking of taking you to Leipzig.
Yeah.
But as I talked to Toan, it's because of the logistical challenges in terms of 4 hours one way, 8
Yeah.
hours already, and then poof, another night in Leipzig maybe. So from a logistic perspective, it wouldn't make any sense, right? But if you have a concrete project, and you were touching on it a bit, what you refer to in Hanoi, it's better to come to Hanoi and have a look at it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you have a project team, yeah, maybe it's good to send the project team here and then we go to Leipzig and we have them talk to all the
Not yet.
Not yet, huh? It's too early. Huh? Okay. So this is
Vâng,
what we
Linh
thought.
đang không hiểu sao phải làm
Okay.
đôi trái.
Again, fine. Thank you very much.
Những
And
cái
now
việc
let's just
digital
use
conversion.
some time
Yeah.
for the questions we had. Yeah.
Okay.
We had questions in terms of what about latency, maybe other technical challenges difficult to overcome. How did you manage? What about training? What was the most important challenge in terms of training to overcome? Safety, or you already touched on safety a bit. You had an issue with licenses. Maybe we have touched on it already. So, but come on, just shoot. Training, maybe. Lan, do you want to challenge the issue of training a little bit?
May I ask questions?
Yes.
So for the air traffic controller who works in digital or remote tower, so which rating do they have most? For example, aerodrome control rating
Mhm.
or something else?
Yes. Basically, they have their standard rating, and after they did the conversion training, they receive a little R at the end, indicating it's also applicable in the remote environment. There is no
Conversion.
Or converse?
as far as I know, there's no special way of achieving only this license. So you get this aerodrome, they are already certified aerodrome ATCOs, and I think even the new one will first, no, you will directly get aerodrome license and R inclusive this little remote. So indicating that he is allowed to work in the remote and digital environment. But for the most part that we had to convert the ATCOs. So there were already aerodrome license ATCOs, and they did the conversion training. Afterwards, they get an additional little R at the end. But as far as I know, I think this is a VHS invention. This
So-
R. There's no worldwide standard having this R at the
It
end.
is. It is an invention and an agreement with the competent authority.
Hmm.
Because this one, the competent authority is the competent authority to issue the licenses, right? So, but the most important, when we talk about training, it was about conversion. So you have fully fledged, qualified aerodrome controller. They know exactly what to do, what the requirements are, and they are just converted, so trained onto the new system. That's one thing. If you start with remote tower controller from the scratch, different story, yeah? Then you would need to figure out, but we can provide an example as well. You would need to figure out how to do that. And is there a difference? And if yes, what is the difference? Yeah.
Because I think for the basic parts, even the ones it's the same.
It's
Even
the
the
same.
ones that started as new controllers in Leipzig, they have never worked on a conventional tower, but the basic training they do here is similar to with what they did before.
Because this is institutional, what is aviation?
Exactly, yeah.
What are the regs and what are the rules? So this is the same. You have to know that, right? But when it comes to the operational training, so simulator and then operational training, then it's like that. Okay. That's a very good question. Thank you.
Can I like I want to I want to ask about conversion and competency knowledge. Okay, so let's summarize like how you the training. So first you have like initial training, right? Initial.
So if you bring that word from
Okay, okay. So you have initial training, and then you have the unit training, and then you have the continual, right? You rolling. So in the continual, you have the refresher and
emergency trainings and whatever.
yeah, and the conversion. So actually to get the ITC and with the remote power, that ITC ATCO must go from initial training, get all the training, and go to the basic training, get the rating training, and the CD at the tower, and then he will come to the conversion, right? Or how do you provide the rating?
It's as Veit told us.
Yeah.
It's almost like that
Yeah.
when you start, because you have a number of controllers.
Yeah.
Fully fledged license experience.
Yeah.
And these controllers went through this process. Yeah. They went through they had this initial training at the academy.
Yeah.
With parts of simulation 360 as you have in
Yeah.
Vietnam. Then they go to Power Düsseldorf. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have they on the job training, as we call it? Yeah. On the job training, you say unit training. Okay.
Yeah.
And
Ja, ich frage mich gerade, wie
hast du den weggeworfen, oder?
aber
Ich hatte den, der muss in den Müll.
ja, auch den habe ich jetzt letztendlich.
Der ist egal. So ist. Und and then this how do you call it, continual training or whatever?
Yeah, continuation training by ICAO.
So
Continuation
this is
training.
then it's true for every ADCO.
Yeah.
You have to do refreshers, emergency trainings, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Alles ist ja super Ding. Oh, so was machst du? Nee, das ist der alte Disc. Oder der ist. Ja, okay, der geht auch. So again, initial, right?
Yeah.
Like that. Perfect.
Yeah.
And then we have the training on the job.
Yeah. That
Now
was
in the real
training.
tower.
Yeah.
Right? In the real tower.
Yeah.
You get your rating, your license.
Yeah.
So this is the student license.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the license you get as a fully qualified controller with your ratings.
Yeah.
Okay. So license and rating, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So
Nice.
and then you have the refresher training. Okay.
Yeah.
Like you have as any EDCO, en route, approach, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And then we ask for volunteers. Who is interested
In the
in remote tower control?
I see.
Some were.
Yeah.
And these guys were taken through a conversion training. Yeah.
Conversion training. Yeah.
So this is how we started. But the new one, they don't need a conversion training.
Yeah.
Because on the job, the unit is RTC Leipzig.
It's already converted.
So there is no need for conversion.
All right.
The job is in the remote.
On the job is then the RTC.
So they
Leipzig.
claim the ladder, but different ladder to the remote tower.
So the same as the initial training, as Veit said.
Yeah.
Almost the same, right?
Yeah.
And then this part here,
OCD as a
This-
Leipzig tower, for example.
RTC, for example, Leipzig, yeah.
Yeah.
And this was Munich.
Yeah. All right.
And then they
They
proceed.
just have to do refresher training.
And then they have their refresher training as
That's
they
all.
have, yeah.
Okay.
No conversion.
Okay, I understand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So follow the ICAOs.
Absolutely in line with IKEA requirements.
Yeah. Understand. And another question from yesterday.
Mhm.
So where is our competency body? Like where are they in the training and rating process?
The competent authority.
Yes, competent of the authority.
So as it always is, it's top down, right? So we have the German government.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. And there is the Ministry of Transport.
Yeah.
Yeah, responsible for transport as such, as aviation.
Mm-hmm.
Within the Ministry of Transport, there is, which is called airspace and space. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a huge division
Yeah.
responsible for space activities and airspace, Luft- und Raumfahrt. And this one is responsible for supervising the competent authority. The competent authority is responsible for supervising the ANSP. Yeah.
So wait a moment. So inside the Ministry of Transport,
Yeah.
you have one department for the airspace and
Space
Space
Yeah.
and space.
and
Space,
airspace.
space and airspace.
Yeah.
So inside the space and airspace department, they have like a division for the competence authority.
No.
No.
No, they are responsible for airspace policy in Germany.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Airspace policy in terms of, oh wow, we have so many
Mhm.
people who wants to fly private aircraft, general aviation. They are so strong. Yes, DFS, we have understood everything should be airspace Charlie and Delta, but sorry, we need a lot of airspace Echo as well to accommodate their wishes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is part of the policy of Germany, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So they do the policy.
Yeah.
And they have outsourced.
Outsource.
They have outsourced in 2003. They have outsourced the function National Supervisory Authority for Air Navigation Services provided in Germany.
They outsource
The function
yeah.
to supervise air navigation service providers
Yeah.
who operate in Germany,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So they do audits because they are also responsible for ensuring compliance to European law, which comes from the European European Agency of Safety in Aviation. Yeah. And EASA is very much orienting on ICAO, right?
Yeah.
So here's ICAO. Here's EASA. This is the European institution, yeah?
Yeah.
Like this. Okay.
Yeah.
And the German government has agreed that EASA is allowed to transform all standards and recommended practices into European law. So for us, SARPs are mandatory. Yeah. And this is what they check. Together, they do the audits for DFS, for example, or DAS as well, regional towers, small towers, right?
Is we
So-
take annually or
Depends on topic and
Yeah.
sometimes it's regularly. For remote tower, we have an individual audit because it was new.
How often assessment performance?
You mean in general or
Annually,
annually? Yes, they do it. Some parts they do annually.
So I mean, if one person who gets a license, how often he enjoy the assessment?
Never again.
one not sometime.
It's one shot.
Lesson is
Yeah.
like yeah.
The license,
Like driver license.
like a driver license, absolutely. But different from a driver license, there is a requirement that you have to work. Yeah, you have to sit in your position.
Yeah.
In your ratings, a given number of hours. Yeah. Otherwise, you would lose your rating. Yeah.
So what happened
And
for
after a given point, your license would put dormant. Yeah. So like do you fly privately? So I did. I had to at least fly 12 hours a year. Yeah. If I don't fly at least 12 hours a year, I will lose my license. Yeah. And I have to renew part of it. So this is the system with that, right? So there is no, you do not have to re-exam or something like this.
so again about come back to the function to supervise ANSP. So the Ministry of Transport as Space and Airspace department, then yeah they and below that in DFS and DAS belong to the Space and Airspace department, right?
No,
Under
no.
not-
No. So now that we have been corporate, it's not really a privatization in terms of It's because we do belong by 100%. We do belong to the state.
yeah.
The state is the one and only stakeholder, right?
Yeah.
But it's kind of privatization, so but non-profit. And we do have a number of ANSPs in Germany. DFS is an ANSP. DAS is an ANSP, although it belongs to Group DFS. Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
we have an
that's
independent-
tricky.
Two NSP trong
Three,
một à?
three.
Trong
So
một,
therefore,
trong một.
DFS Aviation Services.
Yeah, yeah.
It was renamed. It was called DFS Aviation Solutions.
Oh.
It was renamed DFS Aviation Services because DAS is providing aerodrome services,
Yeah.
ATS at regional airports in Germany. Yeah, for example. We do have Austro Control because our market is open. We have a European market, and Austro Control provides service at 9 or 10. It's going up and down because we are competing with each other. Yeah? Regional airports in Germany. Okay.
Austro Control belong to Austria.
Yes,
Austro.
Austria.
Oh,
And we do
interesting.
have 3 towers who applied themselves and got certified as ANSPs, like Finkenwerder, which belongs to Lufthansa, to Airbus, excuse me, to Airbus and others. So we have 3 airports that have been certified as ANSPs as well. So all these ANSPs who provide services in Germany are supervised by the competent authority. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And just for your interest, because you are in love with your military, as we are. Normally I would take blue, but I have only red. So this is the Ministry of Defense, right?
Yeah.
They do have an equivalent. Okay. Yeah. And they work very close with each other. And now that we are civil military integrated and we provide service to military aircraft as well, yeah, they do have established a small office where they approach the one or the other question together. So it's a kind of Verbindungsoffice of English, like a
Cooperative.
like a cooperative body. It's a cooperation between both. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
To help out.
To help out and support. Okay. Sounds weird, but actually we do benefit from it. Yeah, we make the best out of it. We take chances. It's an opportunity as well. It's not only a threat, it's an opportunity. Okay.
Osman,
Yeah.
question for curiosity. The competent authority wasn't there all the time, right? In history, it was once decided to put this in between the ministry and the DFS, right? Due to some issues.
Yeah, there were many contributing factors, but there was a requirement to separate, right?
So the
So
competent.
not to confuse airspace policy with the supervision of a navigation service provider.
So the competent authority is like a body that was outsourced from
the MOT.
MOT.
Yeah.
So where's the role of CAA here?
That's the CAA. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this, sorry, Wilhelm Eschweiler is the general, is the DGCA, the Director General of Civil Aviation. He would beat me up because this is such a small square, so I had something like this. Okay. Here sits the DGCA. He's not the minister. The minister is above, yeah?
Yeah.
Of course, yeah. And here you have the state secretaries. Below that, there is the DGCA, Wilhelm Eschweiler.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is the CAA.
Okay.
Part of the MOT.
Okay.
The Director Civil Aviation Authority is the DGCA, part of the MOT.
So actually, CAA and the space and airspace like function, right? You in the MOT you have space and airspace division department, right?
So he's responsible. Below that, yeah, there are departments.
Okay.
And
okay.
And they are responsible for airspace, German airspace,
Yeah.
for space, yeah,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. Yeah.
So MOT and below MOT is the CAA and the space and airspace department. is
It's
below.
within the
within CAA.
CAA, Civil Aviation Authority.
Yeah,
That's within.
yeah, yeah,
And
is within.
the role and responsibility to supervise
Yeah,
and to administer things like licenses and all
Yeah.
this stuff, and to monitor the data flow. Is everything okay? Do I get the reports according to the hours and something like this? It's
CA.
CA.
So
Previously, it was called NSA to make it more complicated. National Supervisory Authority. This was the old name. National Supervisory Authority. It was renamed in Competent Authority because they wanted to make clear this institution has competencies. Yeah.
so that authority only provides like function to supervise ANSP alone, or maybe other type of transport in the
No, it's just aviation.
aviation.
This is just aviation.
And
For railways and other things, we do have other
competent authority.
supervisory authorities. Yeah.
Okay.
So, for example, when it's about cybersecurity,
Yeah.
when it's about IT, we do collect supervisory authorities. We do collect every level. So we do have another one. This one is also a competent authority, but only responsible for information security.
And belong to like some kind of Ministry of Technology.
Belongs to the Ministry of Interior Affairs.
Yeah.
To make, yeah?
Like Bộ Công an.
Yeah? Different ministry.
Different topics.
Đúng rồi. Đúng rồi.
I can continue. We collect supervisory authorities. We have more supervisory authorities. Yeah.
Yeah, and okay, so for the like the license issued by the license issued by the competent authority, right?
Mhm.
And what about the rating? The rating also who issues the rating for the also them?
We have to prove evidence.
Yeah,
This is the license.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You got your license.
Yeah.
That does not necessarily mean that you have all the ratings.
Yeah,
And you have to keep up the ratings by working so and so many hours per rating, right?
yeah,
And we have to provide evidence that the respective ATCO has worked so and so many hours within that time frame, right? And we have to provide this evidence to the competent authority.
and that's
And in the meantime, we do it automatically. So there's no paper anymore.
so actually you need like a test, like a rating test.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, sure.
As you know,
They have to
back
see-
home,
yeah.
you will get a ready report.
Only one time.
No, the license one time, but for the
License is one
rating,
time, right?
yeah, for
Rating
the
is one
rating.
time.
No.
And then you do
Rating.
the license is one time, one shot, right?
Yeah.
Then you do your rating.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. Once you have your rating and you continuously work in this position and you provide evidence, yeah, one shot.
So what kind of
But if
evidence?
you change, for example, if you change the sector configuration,
yeah,
yeah,
rating also.
if you change the sector you change the rating,
Yeah, we
and
understand.
then you have to do something again, right?
Yeah,
But the change of the sector configuration again needs to be approved by because you need a safety assessment.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you do a change in your functional system, yeah, the functional system is defined. If you do a change, if you introduce a change in your functional system, be it a procedure, be it technology, whatever it is, yeah, you have to support this change with a safety assessment, and the safety assessment needs to be approved by the competent authority.
Yeah.
So, and with this approval, you have the approval for the rating and blah 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 and all this stuff.
So, for example, like if I am an ATC as a tower and I just work as a tower and there's no channel on, so I don't have to sit in the rating
You just
test.
go one shot.
That's okay. I understand.
Unless you work worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
Make it like a.
and then you have a supervisor on the tower said, Lee, I
Yeah.
think you should you should be retrained. Sorry. You're a good man, but
have to do the retrain, right? And I have to like go on the rating test again.
I'm just kidding. But this is the only means by which we control everything. We have a supervisor Yeah. So you have your license, you have
Yeah.
your rating. There's no chance.
Yeah.
But the supervisor's looking at you.
Yeah.
Are you doing good? Are you feeling good? Yeah. Or do you? It may happen that you start not to comply to rules, and then he
Mhm.
will ask you, "What is the issue?" Yeah. And maybe he would decide to that you should see a retraining. You should be retrained. So it's based on observation by the superior, by the supervisor. Yeah.
How about if you would change the automation example,
If I change,
change the equipment
Yeah.
system,
yeah,
the controller is
if I only change the system,
Yeah.
but I do not change the sectorization, yeah.
Mhm.
So the question is always, do I change something that would impact the definition of the rating? Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. If
Yeah.
yes, if no, if it's just a new system, but no new sectorization, no new procedure, just a new system, new technology, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No impact on how I work. But if you introduce new procedures,
Yeah.
as you know, your functional system, as defined by ICAO and others, yeah. Help me out. Your functional system exists of technology, right? Procedures and people.
Yeah.
Right? This is your functional system.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with procedures, you have airspace structure and all this stuff, right? Technology, people. This is your function. If you change anything, you have to visit your competitor. Vielleicht spring rein mit irgendwas auf der Zunge.
Alles gut.
Interesting.
For us, it's super important because we need to understand, do we really change the functional system? Sometimes we try to introduce a change and try to do everything in order to avoid a change in the functional system because we don't want to visit the competent authority.
Yeah.
And we don't want to ask for approval. And there are much of opportunities to do so very safely. Yeah. So we have a very strict understanding what is part of the functional system and what not. Know your system. Very helpful in many aspects. Was das für dich so oder hast du noch eine
Yeah.
Idee?
No, I think maybe the connection to the competent authority is sometimes good, sometimes bad. I don't know how you feel about yours, but in our cases, sometimes we can easily talk with them, and we have invited them also to some like project updates and so on, and they are fine and they leave and have a coffee and bye bye, everything's fine. Sometimes they are really picky and want to see everything, and why have you done this here, and where's the safety assessment? It depends also on people, yeah. Where sometimes you know each other and you can say, okay, we have done this 2 years ago. Now we do another update. So even in the RTC world, we try to hold hands basically, yeah, and keep them in the change. But if the people get replaced and the new guy sits there, then sometimes they are quite picky. So it's I think it's a difficult relationship sometimes.
It's my people ended up in lots of struggles with the competent authority for many reasons, and this was not only because they became picky, yeah, but they started to control more and more and more and more and more. And therefore, I had the one or the other lunch with the director of the competent authority, Carsten Baumann. Carsten's a nice guy, yeah. He's a lawyer, which is
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, and we, after kind of controversial debate, we agreed on a clear definition. What is the role of the supervisory authority? Yeah, it's safety oversight, and the ANSP has the responsibility for safe provisions, right? Yeah. And this is a difference. So
So
if we are willing to take a risk,
yeah.
it's our responsibility. Of course,
So actually,
considering circumstances.
I see that you don't provide rating for only HV controller, right?
We as DFS do
Yeah.
not. We
Ah,
do
no,
not
I mean,
issue.
I mean the competence authority.
Yeah.
They don't only like give the license and rating for HV controller, but other staff, other like personnel too, right?
ASEP, engineering people.
Yeah,
Technical as well. Wherever you need a license or a rating. So our not all of our engineers,
yeah,
but many of our engineers, yeah, they do have to obtain a license.
and
this
the
will be
rating too.
issued. It's not air traffic control,
So
it's
yeah,
air traffic service personnel.
yeah,
ATSEP,
yeah,
you said, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And they get a different license also from the competent authorities.
So with the air traffic services personnel, so do they have to get a rating or no? No, that's a license, right?
The technical personnel,
Yeah.
they do get, I'm not sure whether it's called a rating, but we we do have an internal directive, yeah,
Yeah.
that allows you after a training and a successful examination to manage specific systems. So not every ATSEP, air traffic service personnel, is allowed to monitor, manage, whatever, maintain every system.
I see. I see. So
Okay.
that's some kind of the
So
the
that's kind of
rating, right?
specialization, and it's kind of a rating. It's really CDOPS rating.
So actually, for example, like you have one technician who are responsible for the navigation system,
Yeah,
and another responsible for the communication system. So they have different type of like
absolutely.
ah
So the one who's responsible for communication is not allowed to
to
change
do
screws at the surveillance radar. So yeah, and you have these one for everyone, for everything.
So actually that's well, it's not rating, but let me say it's a rating. So for that rating, it also applies the same rule with a controller, right? Like if you work, it just continue.
Yeah.
But if there's some change in the function, or maybe
If you have to, if there's a need to train you on something new, yeah,
yeah, or maybe because the supervisor feels that you are not competent enough, you have to come back to the competency authority, right?
not to the competent authority. It will be an internal issue to retrain.
Ah, okay,
Yeah,
okay,
based on the
okay.
observation of your superior supervisor. Because there was no change.
Yeah,
Yeah. He just sees you degrading. Your competency, your skills are degrading.
yeah,
And this is observed by your supervisor, and therefore he tells you, come on, let's do a retraining. I want you to keep up your skills and everything. Yeah. But if you do a change, yeah, and have to be trained very new because it's a new environment, new system, new whatever procedures, different story. It's a kind of complicated, yeah. We could spend some hours on that, yeah. What is your issue?
what?
What is the challenge? Because there's something that drives you back home, right?
Well, actually, in our team, we even have a lawyer, Miss Mayang.
This man is the lawyer.
Yeah, a lawyer.
Oh my
our
gosh!
team. Well,
Don't quote me.
and actually, at the moment, we are proposed to the government to change the aviation law and even some like some some sub document for the law. So it's about the regulation and the authority we have to propose so that they will decide that. Yep. And about the competency and the rating and the training for the HV control and other HV services personnel as well. We trying to like to reduce the paperwork, to reduce to minimize to like to minimize the procedure, and we try to like go in the direction that we will the CAA, the Civil Aviation Authority, they just issue the license, and then for the rating, we are the ANSP. We will like in charge of the rating training and the rating testing.
Yeah, that's what you are. That's what we are as well.
No, I mean that the rating is provided by us,
Yeah.
ANSP.
Yeah.
But actually, I see that here you are like you have the competence authority who
For the license. Then we do the rating training, we do the test,
yeah
and then it's an information.
yeah
Yeah.
yeah
So we keep the CA informed
yeah
that the license has been obtained, the ratings of the sector family has been obtained, and it will be kept up by working so many hours per time frame.
so actually the rating you organize the rating test, right?
Everything is organized.
By the
competent authority knows exactly how we are organized. They know all the sector families. Therefore, they know this person with this license goes to sector A. Sector A has sector family A. Sector
Yeah.
family A has 12 working positions because
Yeah.
they have 6 sectors. Executive planner, right? So, and these are the ratings.
So actually they don't organize the rating test, but they just do the quality control, quality
they get
assurance
the
with store
information.
process.
They
right?
get the information, yeah, and this is
Ah.
automated because we have an automated position log in and log out with your ID card.
Yeah, yeah.
Boom, then you have that, and everything is stored in a repository and then exchanged with the competent authority.
I understand. So it's okay. I understand.
Perhaps I was confusing things, maybe, but
Yeah.
this is yeah, okay.
So probably we are still going in the
Same
right
direction.
way. Yeah.
Same direction. Yeah. This is I would always recommend to go down this road because you have more freedom. So
Yeah.
license is one thing, but you have more freedom if you control the rating.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Okay. So this was a kind of excursion. Yeah. And perhaps we do have some minutes left to challenge Veit with regard to remote tower control. Was there something I remember Win was interested in latency issues, whether there's a latency issue or not.
So typically, we do not have latency issues in the general setup because I think the maximum target would be 1 second, which is the absolutely worst case, in the sense that even the radar signal is delayed by 1 second. That was the overall target as the worst case, but we end up in 8 to 10 milliseconds or so for the offset between live and video signals. You have to remember that there is a lot of camera technology involved for the algorithm to decompress or compress the picture and decompress the picture again afterwards. Because over the 400 kilometers, we send a different signal, then this is compressed and so on. So we have some computation on the data stream, but it's not an issue actually. It's not a. It's not that you see the airplane landing and afterwards you see it on the video. Almost no factors.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, perfect. We talked about safety assessments. I think that's good. Or something?
Any specific questions on that as well, or is the general methodology clear? Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. Then we had the question as regard trainings and how to organize the issuance of licenses, ratings, and so on and so forth. We talked about the functional system and what it changed. Okay. There was something. Something cyber maybe security. Some things about security. Backup system. I think the backup was covered by redundancy.
Yeah,
I think that's
but and it's more related to the safety aspect. I think. I mean, we obviously also have a lot of things regarding cyber or IT security in place, like firewall protection, access everything, and how it's encrypted. So, for example, the virtual tower Munich system is completely independent. You cannot access it from outside. It's an independent line. you cannot access internet on this infrastructure. You need to bring your router physically to and connect it, for example.
Mm. So in information security, when it comes to IT security, yeah, as you perfectly know, there is it's named state of the art technology. That's the one. So you should look out. Is there a control out there that could help me to mitigate a risk? Yeah. Whatever the risk is, there are numbers of risks in IT security. So and then yeah, just introduce or implement the control, and then you're good. And this is the plugin, and the rest is safety. So if something goes wrong, you need to have a procedure at hand that helps you to clear the airspace or to stop the operation safely at the airport, and then okay. Yeah. Any other question left?
For the moment, no.
No.
For the moment, it's good.
Tiếng
Yeah.
ồn của các cuộc phải khắc phục lại xem bình thường hay cao cái định điểm gì không?
There's one.
Tiếng ồn không? Tiếng ồn ở trong cái này. We're talking about the noise
Reproduction?
noise simulation
Yeah.
in the is that necessary to
Yeah, you should figure out. You should figure out.
Is there any?
As Veit shared with us, our controllers are interested in having something like this because it increases the situational awareness. Yeah, which you can doubt, right? If you sit at a tower of Munich, you do not hear an aircraft starting the engine. Yeah, you do not hear that.
Depending on the aircraft, but yes.
Yeah, depending on yeah, okay. So there might be an F-35 starting the engine, yeah. But normally you do not hear that, yeah. But given other airports, maybe it's just a result of having a conversation, yeah. And just taking aboard the one or the other thing which came up from the EDCO, because they feel more comfortable or they believe it would increase their situational awareness. That's fine, take it. It's like with the electric cars. So there was a safety assessment, and if you do not produce any noise, right, it might pose a risk for pedestrians or others because they do not hear you coming. Yeah, so you have a noise in an electric car. Yeah, and if you drive a Porsche, an electric Porsche, you have a knob. You can hear even more noise. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So where's the noise come from?
It's generated.
It's
Gaming.
from the
Yeah, it's like a video game.
Aerodrome. Không phải nó giả lập cái tiếng ồn ở trên tại cái sân bay đấy. Remote tower thì em không nghe thì đúng rồi. Còn nó có cả cái
So, is there any regulation or requirement from ICAO or from other organization for the noise? No, there's no.
Not to my knowledge.
No, I don't think it's required.
Yeah.
There has been inputs and feedbacks, and general airport noise is considered to be helpful in the sense that even in the small regional airports, you have a small tower and you hear what happens. So they said, okay, let's put some microphones and get the sound first possible. Yeah.
So actually, there's no requirement.
There's no requirement.
No.
But I remember that there's a requirement about the minimum, about the maximum noise level in the control tower, right?
But this is something else.
Yeah, but actually, it's something different, like opposite.
Yes.
The tower on site.
Yeah,
One's
for the
outside,
physical
it's tower
tower,
on site.
like they have like requirement for the level of noise in the control room. But actually,
Also in the RTC, I mean, you can imagine if you have 6 airports,
yeah,
6 controllers sitting there, everybody's talking. This is also a noise level that you want to dampen
Mitigate,
and
yeah.
mitigate. And we have installations. We did analysis on audio sensing, and they measured the passive backdrop or something they call it when once the noise is generated, how it is absorbed by the carpet and the ceiling. So you have to
Yeah.
take that into account. Yes.
But where does this requirement come from?
You mean the noise requirement?
Mm.
I think it's in the where
There's no requirement for Python.
So this is a totally different area. So
Yeah.
as an employer,
Yeah.
if you employ people,
Yeah.
you have to take care about the one or the other thing in terms of health.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
health issue, right?
Also lighting is there.
Lighting, all this stuff. So there is a requirement, but it comes from a total different direction.
Yeah. Actually, I mean that different, like opposite direction.
Yes, absolutely. So, but it can, the situation can occur like it happened to me when I was director over there. So we moved into this new ops room I showed you,
Yeah.
and we tried as hard as possible to bring down the noise level
Yeah.
and to reduce noise. So we ended up below 55 decibel, right?
Yeah.
Which is very, very quiet.
Yeah.
Super quiet. And the ETCOs weren't used to it. And suddenly, the noise, which was reflected by the controller working position. So I was talking here to someone else, even just sharing a joke or so. Yeah. This noise was transported by reflection. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the most important issue or the problem we had is that the noise became understandable. So noise is one thing, but it will distract you much more if you can understand the message. Yeah. So noise is one thing, but
Yeah.
if you understand the information, yeah, if you can process the information, the distraction is much higher. And we ended up in a situation like this. And then there was a report, and then the competent authority showed up and said, okay, this is a safety issue level 1. Because ETCOs are being distracted, right? But the requirement comes from, so this is really, really interesting to understand. Yeah, okay. I love this topic. They are so challenging. It's beautiful, isn't it? It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Any specification as standard guidance that you follow when you conduct your project?
There is some IASA material on it as that we relied on. At that time, there was nothing. So for DFS, it was almost they developed it basically from scratch. Nowadays, there are some material as recommended practices, and we have some guidance from, for example, EuroKAI, which is an industry consortium. They also give some inputs on what the cameras should cover, and currently you would find many ideas or many guidelines that you can at least put as a recommendation or some ideas.
Yeah. Maybe EuroKAI is a good reference, right? Yeah.
EuroKAI.
EuroKAI.
Yeah.
You know EuroKAI? Yeah.
Maybe you have a similar approach also like in the
Can you name the document?
it's 104A, I think. But let me check 204 or 104.
I don't know the document. There's so many documents around.
I think it's 240, 240A and B.
EuroKAI 204 minimum elevation system performance, right?
Minimum standards, yeah. This, I think this is it. This gives some ideas on different.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, Doc. Perfect. Yeah.
Mất tiền 136 đồng. Full member. One member 195.
All good?
Yeah, we have to buy.
You had?
We have to buy.
Yeah, we have to buy the document.
Yeah, you did.
195.
That's. But first check out
Yeah.
whether you have a representative in any kind of body, yeah, who has free access.
Okay.
You always will find a person with free access to any document you need. Yeah.
Hopefully.
No, really.
Yeah. Really understand. Yeah. Interesting.
Really.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
If there's no other question, I would like to give a thank you to Pipe. It was great for
Thank you very much.
It was really beautiful, and for standing all the questions. Knowledgeable. That was fantastic. Please give yourself an applause for your active participation. You're doing so well. That's a great group. It's fantastic to work with you. Thank you very much. It's 4:06. Again, a long and very rich day, I would say. Yeah. Apologies from Jan. He's still in his medical. Perhaps this was an apple wine too much. I think he's doing good. So his eyes are already good. I always get reports here. Yeah, my eyes are good, my ears are good. So I think it looks good. We wanted to do the CBA on RTC today. We will do that tomorrow morning because I think it's an interesting exercise to do the CBA, right?
Yeah.
Tomorrow we will try to organize a presentation on civil-military cooperation in Germany. This is what you were asking for. The people are super busy for the time being for many reasons. If I cannot find someone who can make himself available, I will do it by my own, because it's one of my babies over 15 years, so I can do that. But I always love to have people from the, who are in responsibility in the job to do that. Okay, then we will try to respond to your questions in terms of swim architecture, right? ATN network, and so we try to find people to do that because we want to provide better information than just look at here and look at that. We need to go a little bit to the remaining ASBU threads. There are some ASBU threads we didn't touch on. This will be a theoretical part, so we will go to the GAN portal, look at it, look at the CONOPs for each block, and maybe there's a question, maybe there's something we can discuss about, right? And then we just go through it. Yeah, right. You have to choose by yourself whether it's relevant for you or not, but we have to do that, right? Yeah. Okay, so that's good. Then in the afternoon, time remaining, we will jump into the ASBO thread TBO a little bit more in detail in order to prepare for the visit of Karlsruhe on Thursday. Yeah. Right. And the same as today, we really go through it. And please take notes, please note some questions in order to challenge, as you did today, to challenge our colleague in Karlsruhe, who will do the presentation and simulation or whatever, right? Okay. On Thursday will be the presentation. Yes. Stay busy. Friday morning, examination. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. And then, we do kind of feedback and questions, answers. And if you pass the examination successfully, you may get a certificate and all these things. Yeah. Okay, you're good?
Okay, all right.
Thank you very much for this wonderful day. Safe trip back home and make the best of the wonderful sunny day. Yeah, use your free time.
Thank you very much.
See you on Thursday. I'll join you.
Yeah, that's great. We have one of you.
So kann ich weiter dann hochgehen.
Ja, das ist vier mitgenommen.
Ja, das ist cool, oder?
Super.
Läuft, ne? Ja, macht doch mehr Spaß.